Hello, I'm your host, Carmen Milagro, and welcome to From the Ground Up. We have a great guest for you today. Now, as many of you know, like most of my guests, I wear a lot of hats. I'm a certified CBD consultant, master certified wellness coach in the CBD space, author of Truths About Hemp CBD, co founder and instructor at CBD University, and founder at Divina. I'm also an entrepreneur artist and I host this show because we all start somewhere. And usually, most people start from the ground up, dreaming, planning, and building that career path or starting a business step by step or brick by brick. Regardless of where you start, when you do start, how do you do it? How do you navigate the challenges that life throws you? How do you avoid making mistakes or dodge those bullets? So, on this show, my guests come from various countries and different backgrounds, and we have the opportunity and the honor to hear their stories. We ask advice, we learn from their mistakes, and hopefully, we're inspired as well. We are able to tap into and talk to some of the most successful people from all kinds of things, careers, business, all of it, whatever comes up. Some of my guests are CEOs or coaches, they're engineers, they're educators, journalists, authors, singers, tech gurus, investors, and even an occasional celebrity or two. And I'm excited to have with us today Neni Carolina Chacin, the senior managing partner at Automate Your Success Coaching. She's an award-winning software engineer, recording artist, a life and business coach, and investor. She's also certified in marketing, branding, and digital content creation. She's also a mentor in fitness, health, and nutrition. She's a speaker and a published author. She turns visions into reality by coaching individuals, business owners, and entrepreneurs from all around the world. She teaches them how to automate their business and optimize their life so they may operate at peak performance and maximize their growth online and off. Neni was born in Venezuela, then came to the US to continue her career as a software engineer. She's also a gospel and jazz singer who thrived while touring the world for 20 years. She then decided to move to Paris and launched her coaching business. 6 years later, she returned to the US during the pandemic, where she settled in Los Angeles to continue her work. Welcome to the show, Neni. Thank you for joining us on From the Ground Up.
Thank you, Carmen. It's an honor to be here with you and sharing with your audience. And I can't wait to hear what you have to say about everything that you've been doing in the ground up. And also, it's really a fantastic way to be introduced. I really appreciate your introduction.
Oh, thank you. You're welcome. Well, you've done it. So we might as well let everyone know because as you know, that there's different ways that people engage with us. And a lot of times when they hear, oh, wait a minute, she does this and this and this. Okay, then maybe I can too. So that's what I love to do, right? Is share a little bit of background and a little bit of what you're doing. But I also like for you to be able to tell us in your own words. So if you don't mind, a lot of our viewers are world travelers like yourself. Do you mind sort of telling us when you first arrived here from Venezuela, what was your first impression coming to the United States?
Well, actually, when I came here the last time, which was in 1995, to work as a software engineer, I'd already lived in the United States when I was a child, and I already lived in London when I was a young child as well. So I already had experience moving to another country. So and I'm already doing that. That was my third time doing it. So that last time. So what I realized actually that when you transition from a third world country to a new first world country is, I think I've mentioned it before, is the information. The access to information is a lot more available in the first world countries than in the third world countries. You have very restricted ways to get to information. And so, of course, that was then in 95 before the web, when the web was just starting. So, of course, was even harder to get information.
Sure.
But the first thing that I noticed was a set of organizations in the city. Of course, the city was organized, the city planning and all the infrastructure of the city was there. Everything was easy accessible. The pharmacy was near the supermarket. Everything was accessible. And of course, I moved to Boston, and Boston has a great transportation system, which was not available in Venezuela, where I was working and living before that. They didn't have a transportation just by car, right? But I had lived in London, where transportation is great, so I had been exposed to that. It's just that was the first thing, when you come into a new world, a first world country, from a third world country, you see all the infrastructure of the city that's set up and the information for your growth that is set up.
Okay. And then, so now you've envisioned a life for yourself. How was it for you? Was there a difference, say, being a software engineer in Venezuela versus being a software engineer here in the United States?
Yeah, so being a software engineer in Venezuela, of course, like I said, the information back in 95 was very limited. The web was just starting. So it was very different. And you have to really be in touch with the schools in the United States, or be in touch with research groups where you talked, things that were published on forums, I guess, and newspapers. Mostly we were using magazines, published books and published magazines with articles that talked about the new research and software development kits and SDKs, what they called it, to do new things. So and I was in the research department in the consortium of all the oil company and plastic polymers developer companies in the private sector. So we were just doing research on software. How can we use it to optimize and automate any of their things? So that was very difficult. It was slow, and it was difficult because the access to information was difficult. But once I came here, everything was already there. And I was actually very fortunate to work in a company where everybody was coming from an Ivy League university, MIT, Harvard, Princeton. So I was very lucky to be among these people. And that was even the information was just there. I was trained by them. Of course, we shared developing software. The internet was just coming out. The new HTML language was coming out. JavaScript, Java language was coming out. So we had to learn all the tools as we were accessing. But everything that was new coming up, we were just doing it right there and creating new things. Whereas in Venezuela, we would have to wait until that's developed. Somebody posts something, somebody interacts, some companies using it, and then we can use it. But here in the United States, it was right away we could use the technology.
Right. And what about being a woman in this industry? Was there a difference?
Oh, absolutely. Actually, it was very interesting. I don't know about the rest of Venezuela and the engineering world. I was from Maracaibo, which is the second largest capital in the country, and I was very fortunate to be the majority, in gender. So we were more females than males.
Oh.
In the school and at work. At work, actually, all the engineers and everybody working, we were all female professional engineers. And it was amazing. And then the clients and the customers of the work where I was doing, I was working at the stock exchange. So I automated their stock exchange system based on the Vancouver stock exchange system. So we were all female engineers. All the president was a female. All the accounting and develop everybody was a woman. So when I came to the US, I didn't think any of it because I was surrounded by female engineers. I was the only female engineer developer for years. So
interesting.
I didn't think anything about it because before I was surrounded by women, and but this time I was by myself, so I didn't feel anything. I didn't act differently, but I noticed right away that after a while I was actually standing like a man, for example. So we were standing in the middle. I would have the same physical mannerisms. So that was something that I remember seeing myself. And of course, my attire was different here. In Latin America, we were all sexy mamas with, mini skirts, low thing, everybody is like that. But here we were all like kind of geeky engineer, dressed up,
Right.
and shirts, and pantsuits and things like that. Very few, but I was still, wearing my skirts and dresses and stuff. But every single time, of course, I would get comments from all the guys. So it's just interesting, right? It's an interesting world,
Very.
news and everything, and that was it was not a big deal
Right.
to be a female engineer. I did, of course, observe the difference in the salaries, and also because as a woman, we're not used to fight and compete. We're not trained to compete and fight for our salaries from very early. So
Sure.
I just accepted what they offered. I said, I'm here, I'm coming, this is what I'm bringing. Oh, we're gonna offer this, and I said, yeah, thank you. So of course, it was a big difference compared to $200 in Venezuela a month. So so it wasn't something I was just happy, very, very happy and grateful to work. But with the years, I learned, the difference, and I could see that my fellow, I was the most senior female engineer, and I was not paid the same at the same level. And at the end, they were trying to keep it low. So it's really interesting, right? But I did learn about that, and now, of course, I have more experience for that, and more training, more self-esteem, and more confident to for that. But that was very different for sure.
Sure. And we're gonna switch gears a little bit because I do want to sort of tap into, you are a very creative, you're a singer, you are a musician, you're a creative person. How does that benefit, how would you say that benefits your clients? The fact that you are so creative and you are so, engineering minded, like how does that benefit your clients?
Well, that's very interesting. Recently, I actually took a test from Dr. Amen. I don't know if you follow him. Dr. Amen is a psychiatrist that analyzes the actual brain, the physical brain. And I wanted to take a test about right brain and left brain, speaking about creativity and engineering mindset, right? And I was very curious if I was really more towards the right, more towards the left. What did the questionnaire revealed? And it revealed I had a balanced brain. So that makes sense, because what's happening is all my life I have been practicing engineering, right? I've been studying, implementing, and practicing engineering. And at the same time, in parallel, I have been practicing singing, creating. When it wasn't creating in the musical way, I was also creating in the visual way. So I would create videos. I would edit my videos. I would post my video for music, right? For all the creativity part. I would use social media to create different kinds of social media posts. And I was playing with how pretty I could draw something, and all the different photo apps that I can create stuff to stand out as a musician and to get the gigs, to promote my gigs. So that was in parallel. So I think that's why I developed both at the same time, the balanced one. Of course, I am a right brain person, but it's interesting, if you really practice and develop, you can really have both things help your business and your clients. So the way I help my clients is, like, for example, if they have a website to develop, I can tell them how to do all the marketing in the engineering way, the structure, the specific words they have to say, how they need to present themselves in an engineering way. Also the technical part, like how does it work? What is the best website tool? What is the website, the domain, the hosting, like to understand what is that. If you don't understand that, then you're going to get ripped off with the prices, right? So I can understand that, explain that, but at the same time, I can tell them in a creative way how to present themselves in a proper way to be to stand out in the ocean of sameness, right? So, and be in the lake of distinction. So I use my creativity to give them that edge and differentiate them from others.
That's wonderful. And they, of course, they reap the benefits of you having all of this to offer them. What advice would you give your clients so that they can continue to achieve and thrive, post pandemic, rising interest rates, the bank failures, like there's so much going on. Usually there is all the time. But what's the one thing that you can, and I don't really like to speak. there's, there's I love it. That's why we do this, right? But there's what was I saying? Oh, I don't really, generally speaking, I don't like generalities. But what is one thing that you find yourself recommending to your clients, maybe the most often, of how to thrive in these times?
Well, actually, I do have a podcast called Succeed in Uncertain Times that I run with Eva Humpoth, and that we've been doing that since the pandemic. And you find a lot of tips there. If you want to get more than one, you can go there too and listen for the audience, right? And but it's hard to say just one, but I would say the most important thing is your mindset. Believe it or not, I would say your mindset is very important, because if you get rattled by everything that's going on around you, by the clients, by life, by health, by the challenges that are coming, the changes that are coming, AI, the banks, new solutions, political changes, economic changes, technology changes, everything changes, even yourself. You may go in a transition between the 40s to the 50s, or the 20s to the 30s, or the 50s to the 60s, or to the 70s, or even 80s, about to retire and do something else, or maybe you need a new challenge, a new purpose. So mindset is so important, to have a healthy mindset during all the changes, so that you can have, it's not to remain calm all the time, because that's actually not possible. You will be rattled, you will have a down, and you will have an up. But having a mindset that you can continue, that you can do the challenges that you're facing, that you can overcome the problems, and you can come up with the solutions, so to have a positive mindset that you can resolve everything. Doesn't mean that you are able to resolve everything, and doesn't mean that you're able to resolve every challenge and overcome every challenge. It means that you will, because you will be able to, if you have a positive mindset, you will find the resources, you will connect with the right people, you will nourish yourself the right way. So that's why it's so important to have a mindset of, you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay, no matter what the ups and downs. And that's the most important thing, I would say. The mindset. If you really get rattled, you can get down in depression, right? You can get frozen. You can get addicted to things. So it's just really, the mindset is so important. And just remember, of course, for the mindset, you need to have a good body that can host the right thoughts and right brain. And so nutrition is very important.
Right. Okay. I love that. Thank you. If I recall, you also, you mentioned your podcast, but if I recall, you also have a book coming up. Is that right?
Yes. So it's interesting, because you mentioned before that I come from different backgrounds and I've moved to different countries. So because I've moved back and forth between 5 different countries, I actually decided to write a book about migrating to success, or relocating to success is what it is. And that is 13 ways to adapt to a new situation, a new country, a new location, a new place. And you can use these 13 tips, not just for a location, but also for a change in your life. Right. So it's really 13 ways to adapt to a new change. And so I came up with these 13 steps from the different, so I went back and reverse engineer all the ways I adapted into all these countries, and how I thrived in each one as I moved into them. Because you have to, when you move to a new place or a new situation, you have to get a new circle, you have to get a new job, you have to establish a routine for your nutrition. You have to establish new goals. You have to reset everything. So how do you reset your life in 13 steps? So that's really what the book is about, and it should be coming up very soon. I'm about to finish it. So that's
Great.
just look for it on Amazon, I guess, on Kindle, and it will be out soon.
Okay, great. We will. And remember, I always like to remind our guests that when these videos come out, they will be on the Facebook page From the Ground Up. And I always encourage my guests to circle back and say, "Hey, my book is out," or, "Hey, this is this podcast. I think you will like it," because that way, you continue to have that connection with everyone that's going to be listening or watching us now. I know that we've got to sort of start wrapping this up. We all have a million things to do, but if you were to give a young Neni when she was in her 20s, let's say, if you were to give her one piece of advice that you, Neni, now know is critical or important, or what's that one thing that if you could go back to yourself and say, "Hey, keep this in mind," or, "Hey, don't do that," what would that be? What would that look like?
In my 20s, so that's really a personal question. It would be because, yeah, it would be a personal question. So I'm going to answer it in a personal way. So I think I would say, don't go in your romantic relationships, don't go for what seems new, but take a little more time to test and stay there, to test, to make sure that it works.
Right. Okay. That's as we get older, we learn life lessons, right? It's not always just about business. It's about sharing and imparting that knowledge. And I'm sure someone who's in their 20s right now probably needed to hear that too. So thank you for doing that. And if someone wants to connect with you directly, how do they do that, Neni?
Yeah, so I have, as you can see, I have my link tree with my Neni Chacin. So my handle in all social media is at Neni Chacin
Okay.
everywhere. So you can find me on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Spotify, on every single platform.
Okay.
Everywhere.
Great.
You can find
Do you
me.
have
And if
any last? Oh, go
you
ahead.
just DM me there, I do reply to every comment and every message.
Yes, you do. Is there anything else that you would like to share with our listeners, with our viewers? Just anything random at all, or business related, whatever it is that you would like to just, your final words for today.
My final words for today would be, make sure you stay up to date with the technology. Don't get really scared about the new things with the technology. Just try to listen to other people talking about the new things if you are not if you're unsure about it. And because I'm talking about all the different things that are coming up really in the next year, including AI, but maybe other things too. And in general, like, technology goes really fast. And the more we develop technology, the faster the changes that it can go, the faster the changes that it can have in your business and in your life, personal and your business. So make sure that you just keep up to date. Like, don't be scared. Don't say, "Oh, this technology is not for me." I have people in their 88, they just turned 88, turned 92, and they're embracing technology, putting music in their iPads and, doing this stuff. So don't be afraid. If an 88, 92-year-old person can do it, you can do it. So don't be so scared of new technology. Embrace it and study it, because it's going to change and the way you handle your life and your business, and it's going to be for the better. Don't be scared.
Great. Thank you so much. Actually, I have one more question before I let you go. You mentioned AI. Of course, that is, that's what everyone is talking about, all the different things, all the new things that you can do. What would you say, like, if you can share with us how many, or approximately how many hours you've studied and learned about the AI world, and I don't want to discourage people, but I would love for people to see how, look, there are other people who are more experienced. They are the experts and they're available to help us. So just if you could share with us how much you've studied this.
Yeah, so because I'm a software engineer, of course, and I work with these tools for social media and everything, I'm in touch with everything that comes new. So since ChatGPT came out, so I would say I've been deeply studying it since January for many hours a week. I would say minimum 1 hour a week, an hour a day. I dedicate, and I have actually 5 podcasts already, or 4 podcasts already on AI that we started before everybody started talking about ChatGPT. So and it's really interesting. But yeah, so I don't know. I actually haven't counted the hours, but it definitely is over 100 hours. And
Right.
but I don't want to discourage people in terms of hours, right? Because it just
Sure. Of course.
it's just a matter of interacting with it. If you interact with it for 1 hour, you will get a sense of what it can do to you. And actually, I'm about to actually, I created some content this morning about what AI will never be able to do and will never be able to replace humans. So stay tuned for that.
That's
And
great.
and then the other one is I'm about to create another, and then I also have the one I just said I created it already, and the other one I'm gonna film it after, is all the applications that AI can help you with. And it's really important to just, don't be, like I said, don't be scared of the technology. 1 hour of playing with it can actually give you a sense of all the things it can do. Just know that because it already has, it's like because it already has information and has logic behind it. It can actually, anything that you want to ask it. For example, you had a problem um, handling a person in the spectrum, so you just ask them, how do you handle a person in the spectrum? So you just don't do this, don't do that, don't do that. So you can ask anything to the chat GPT already. So you can come up with anything for your marketing and for the branding. You can ask for advice, you can ask for anything. It already has the information, because it's kind of already has a collective of everything that is in there. So it's really powerful. And also for the graphic part, also it can generate any graphic that you want, logos, ideas, images. I created my graphics for Easter. There was my graphic. I created a few other things just playing around. So again, if you play around with it for 1 hour, it doesn't mean that you're going to be an expert, but it's enough for you to get your feet wet and to try to understand it, to what they could actually give you. A friend of mine asked me to write a blurb for her new 90-day planner. Actually, it was a client from Paris. She reached out to me and said, hey, I have this 90-day planner based on Mark Twain's Eat Your Biggest Frog First quote. And she drew 90 frogs. She's an illustrator. She drew 90 frogs, she created a planner, and she wanted me to write a blurb. I asked ChatGPT to create a blurb for her planner, and it came out with an amazing, even it changed the branding of the book and everything. So you don't know what you can get in there. So it's really incredible just with the free version of the ChatGPT. So I would say, of course, we are experts. There's a bunch of people that already are experts on that. You can always reach out to me to ask me questions and how can I optimize this and to help you use it, or to delegate how to use that tool. But yeah, there are people already in it all day long.
Right, exactly. Well, thank you so much. Thank you again for joining us on From the Ground Up. I really appreciate it. And I always learn something new when I talk to you. So, from me personally, thank you. And thank you all for joining us, for staying tuned in, for always, hopefully, you're in, not just being, you're not just learning something new, that you are being inspired. And I think that, once again, there's really nothing stopping you from becoming the success that you want to be and becoming the person that you want to be. We're here. We're sharing stories, we're learning, we're hearing about other people's journeys, how they came to this country, what they do with their businesses, what they would, advise their younger self to remember. So hopefully this is, a little bit more of a tool, just something somewhere for you to come and listen and learn. And that's what we're trying to do here. As always, From the Ground Up is sponsored by Davina. And I can't wait to see you next time. Thanks for tuning in. This has been From the Ground Up.